Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something pretty fascinating in the world of big online games, specifically Blox Fruits.
Right, Blox Fruits. A name
Yeah.
most people in that space definitely know.
Exactly. And what we're looking at isn't just, a standard update. It's this huge, kind of unexpected shift in how the developers are doing things,
Mhm.
their whole philosophy, maybe.
It really is. It's a story of a massive turnaround.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's almost like a master class in managing a community, even if maybe they didn't entirely plan it that way at first.
Yeah. Huh?
Anyone who's been following the chatter around Blox Fruits knows the old rhythm.
Oh.
Long wait.
The droughts. Yeah.
Exactly, droughts. Then a massive update drops.
Yeah.
And then, boom, silence again. Crippling silence.
Right. But now the sources we're looking at paint a totally different picture. It's sustained momentum, actual consistency, and you can feel this sort of renewed energy in the player base.
It's palpable.
So that's our mission today. We want to pull out the key takeaways from this developer turnaround. What exactly did they do? What content, what communication changes? How did they get a pretty skeptical community to go from, frankly, being frustrated most of the time
Yeah, chronic frustration is a good way to put it.
to being genuinely excited? And the big question, is this sustainable? Is this the start of that golden age people talk about, or just a really bright flash in the pan?
Well, the context is just so important here. You really got to remember how deeply ingrained that expectation of inconsistency was.
Mm-hmm.
Our sources really hammer this point. The sheer surprise of this new era is maybe its defining feature.
Mm.
A few months back, the idea of the devs sticking to a regular schedule, updates, even just blog posts, it felt like pure wishful thinking.
Player burnout was real.
Oh, absolutely.
So-
Fatigue was high.
It's a paradox, isn't it? They had this mountain of skepticism built up over years to climb. If your community basically stops checking for news because they assume nothing's coming for months, how do you even start rebuilding that trust, that connection?
Well, you start by showing the commitment isn't just tied to one single huge feature drop, right? The key change wasn't necessarily the volume of content initially.
Okay.
It was the predictability, the rhythm. They shifted from, like, we promised something massive eventually to, hey, we promise to actually show up every week or close to it.
Okay.
That consistency, that was the missing piece. And delivering on that promise, that's what started to rebuild that basic level of trust.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. So consistency is the engine here. But what was the immediate impact? Like on the players, it sounds like it wasn't just here's new stuff, but almost a new kind of relationship with the team.
Precisely. They brought in transparency. Suddenly, the community is, as one source put it, talking again in a good way.
Right.
That constant low-level buzz of frustration that just defined the conversation for ages, it's been replaced by actual excitement, which kind of suggests the devs have maybe finally really listened and finally understand what players want.
But hang on, wasn't the core gameplay loop, the grinding and stuff, already pretty strong? What exactly was missing? Because just saying players want more content is, super generic.
True.
For a game all about the grind, getting fruits, getting stronger,
Yeah.
what were the specific things that needed fixing? The pain points.
And that's where you got to dig into what players were really asking for, even if they didn't phrase it perfectly.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily about needing a new sea or a new island straight away.
Okay.
Success here seems directly tied to hitting three key needs that kind of defined why the game felt stagnant for so many.
Right.
One, they needed new things to grind, stuff that wasn't just pushing the main level cap.
Right. More horizontal stuff.
Exactly. Two, they needed actual easy reasons to log back in often. Daily, weekly, whatever. Low friction.
Not just for a big event every 6 months.
Yeah. Precisely. And three, something concrete, something exciting to look forward to down the line on the roadmap, and the content they started rolling out. It was tailor-made to hit exactly those 3 points.
So less about just extending the endpoint and more about making the whole journey, the day-to-day, richer. They focused on systems, things that create ongoing activity, not just updates you consume and finish.
Absolutely nailed it. Think about the frustration before. You hit max level, maybe you got the mythical fruits you wanted, and then what? Your daily login felt kind of pointless.
Yeah, you're just waiting.
They tackled that head on
Yeah.
by making existing time sinks more useful and adding new ones.
And the proof, you're saying, is in the specifics, starting with that summer event, which, okay, seasonal events happen, but our sources suggest this one wasn't just temporary fluff. It really set the tone for this whole new approach by adding permanent changes.
Yeah, the summer event was the delivery vehicle. It brought in foundational systems. It wasn't just do this quest for a limited time. It was about weaving new activities into the core game, especially for mid to late game players.
Yeah.
And this is where we need to get specific, like you said. What were the features that drove that first wave of momentum?
Okay, let's start with the one that maybe seemed a bit out of left field at first, but turned out to be huge. Fishing. Why fishing? Why did that become such a big deal?
Okay, fishing hits that grind issue perfectly.
Eh.
It's about resource generation, but also parallel activity.
What do you mean, parallel?
Well, think about grinding before. It was mostly high-effort combat, right? Lots of clicking, focusing. Fishing is low effort. You
Sure.
can kind of do it semi-AFK while watching something, chilling out.
Ah.
But it's still productive. It gives you useful materials, maybe even rare items. It gave people a reason to just be in the game world, logged in, even when they weren't actively fighting mobs. That's gold for keeping an online world feeling alive.
That totally changes the reason to log in, doesn't it? If I know I can make some kind of progress, even if I only have like 5 or 10 minutes, I'm way more likely to just pop the game open.
Exactly right. And that connects perfectly to the second big structural change they brought in, crafting systems.
Okay, yeah.
Fishing gives you stuff.
And crafting gives that stuff lasting value, a permanent use.
Crafting is always huge. It adds resource sinks, long-term goals, stuff that has zero to do with just hitting the next level cap. How did it specifically impact things in Blox Fruits?
Well, like you hinted at earlier, it introduced horizontal progression, where mostly only vertical existed before. Now, players could use materials from grinding or from the new fishing system to craft gear, permanent stat boosts, accessories, maybe rear weapon upgrades.
Creates new chase items,
Yeah.
things to really work towards.
Exactly. And it makes all those, millions of lower tier resources people usually ignore suddenly valuable again. It revitalizes the whole economy, gives max level players a clear path forward once they'd sort of hit the previous ceiling. Okay, so fishing plus crafting. That combo basically patched up the mid-game and stretched out the end game at the same time. Clever. But keeping that attention going, week after week, that takes constant feeding, right? How did they nail that regular reason to log back in?
That's where the third piece comes in.
Yeah.
And it was kind of brilliant in its simplicity. Weekly fruit skins.
Ah, the skins. It's the perfect little drip feed, isn't it?
Definitely.
It's not just cosmetic, it's a collectible, but it's time-gated. You have to check in.
It manages expectations perfectly. Players know, okay, they're not getting a new island every single Tuesday, but they do know something new, small, and obtainable will likely show up.
Keeps things fresh without breaking the dev team.
Exactly. It's that regular little dopamine hit. It fulfills that reason to log back in need we talked about without needing massive resources every week, high reward for players, relatively low dev effort, and it locks people into that weekly check-in habit. Genius.
So if you put those three together, fishing, crafting, weekly skins, they're not just features, they're like engagement mechanisms.
Foundational mechanisms, yeah.
They aren't one-off quests you finish.
Right.
They're systems that provide that ongoing grind and the reasons to log back in that players wanted. It fundamentally changed the daily feel of the game, and it backed up that whole new promise of consistency.
And that structural foundation is what makes this feel different.
Yeah.
It's not just a wave of content. It feels like a genuine change in direction. They've laid the groundwork, and now the community's looking ahead, focusing on what's coming next, built on this more stable base.
Right. And that future, it's looking pretty promising now, especially as we move past summer systems and head towards the holidays. The immediate buzz is obviously around, Christmas event potential. That's usually a huge time for these games.
Massive player spikes, monetization opportunities, yeah.
But the difference this year...
The difference is, like you said, the event lands on a game that already feels healthy and engaged. It's not a defibrillator for a dying player base.
Good point.
That said, the real test, the thing that's going to cement this new era or potentially break the trust again, one specific major piece of content that's been promised for, well, ages.
Let me guess. The Control Fruit rework.
Bingo. That rework's been teased forever. Like our sources say, it's almost legendary at this point, the amount of waiting.
But why? Why is Control specifically such a massive deal? Why is getting that rework right so critical?
Okay, this dives right into the PvP meta, the competitive side of things.
Yeah.
Control is conceptually supposed to be a really high-tier, powerful fruit.
Right.
But its actual moveset, its combat kit, it hasn't really been updated properly since it first came out ages ago, compared to newer fruits. Fruits with modern designs, better hitboxes, smoother movement. Control just feels kind of clunky, slow, often just not that effective in serious fights.
Outdated.
Seriously outdated.
Yeah.
Probably the most obvious example of a high-prestige fruit that desperately needs modernization.
So this isn't just about adding more stuff. It's about fixing old problems, technical debt, that actually impacts how the game plays at a high level.
It's exactly.
If they fumble this rework, even with all the new systems, it sends a bad signal, right? Like they aren't committed to quality, just quantity.
The flip side,
Yeah.
if they nail the control rework, the implications are huge. A fresh control fruit could completely shake up the meta again.
Mm.
Suddenly, veteran players, the PvP crowd, they have to relearn things, try new combos, adapt.
That's the aha moment for you listening. A big meta shift like that.
Yeah.
It re-energizes the most dedicated players, the ones who might be getting a bit bored, waiting for something to really change the competitive scene.
It's proof they can deliver complex updates, not just add-ons.
That ability to pull off a major rework, shake things up properly, it shows they're focused on the quality and balance of the game, not just ticking boxes for new maps or levels. It's a sign of maturity in how they develop.
Maturity is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this all loops back to that ultimate goal, right? The golden age.
Yeah.
If they can keep this momentum going, built on being open, building those core systems like fishing and crafting, and delivering on major promises like the control rework, then we might actually see Blox Fruits hit that sweet spot everyone's hoped for.
Where new content feels like it's adding to something already great, not just trying to patch holes in something sinking.
Exactly.
It's quite the turnaround story, really. So, to kind of wrap up the core insight for you, the listener, this whole positive shift in Blox Fruits, it seems powered by two things working together. First, just basic consistency and openness from the devs, which rebuilt that broken trust.
Crucial first step.
And second, really listening to what players actually needed beneath the surface, which boiled down to meaningful, systemic reasons to keep grinding and logging in every day, not just giant temporary content dumps.
Yeah, it's systems over sheer volume sometimes. This deep dive hopefully gave you a shortcut to understanding a really key moment for this huge online community. A moment that kind of shows how vital a predictable plan and well-targeted features are for long-term health, not just short-term survival.
So connecting this to the bigger picture, it's fascinating, isn't it? This idea of a golden age totally depends on keeping that momentum going. So here's something for you to think about. What comes next? After the hype from the control rework and maybe a big holiday event fades, what level of quality, what kind of content will they need to deliver to stop all this excitement turning back into that frustration we saw before? Because that's the real challenge, right? Maintaining a golden age is harder than starting one.